my channel. Hello, I'm here today with my tower garden. So I am excited to update you guys today because so much has happened, and honestly, when I put up my last tower garden video, I actually didn't even realize till I was editing the video to upload it that I didn't talk anything about the great bug and mold. We don't even really know what it is, but I know how I fixed it, which is kind of going to be what I get to. But the great mold and bug fiasco of my tower garden of 2018. It was crazy. So if you've missed my other tower garden videos, I'm gonna go ahead and link them down below because I've been documenting this whole process from the very beginning. So when I first got my tower garden in the box, we actually filmed an unboxing. Dan and I filmed a video setting up the tower garden, and then I filmed a couple of diaries since then, just showing you guys what we've harvested, how we've planted things, what we've learned. We were literally and are literally, I mean, especially me, Dan helps me, but this really is my baby. I am a novice. I don't know anything. Now, granted, I do joke, I know a lot compared to a lot of people. So many people don't even know how to germinate seeds or grow plants, and I do know how to do that now to a very basic degree in my tower garden. But I really don't know what I'm doing, so a lot of these videos are kind of just me figuring out as I go what plants can be grown inside, because at this point our hydroponic, our tower garden is completely obviously inside. And actually, I keep just trying to decide if I want to spoil this or not. I'm just gonna say it, we ordered a second tower garden yesterday, so you can't see it from where you guys are, but it's actually gonna be going over here. We're actually completely redoing this office because Dan's office is going to become our foster child's room. So we're in the process, it's a mess in here. We're in the process of moving our stuff together and kind of redesigning this space, not only for him to come in as well, but also for some other things that I'm trying to create here. Anyways, we have a second tower garden coming, which is crazy, but it's because partially I have so many seedlings and plants going that I really want to grow. And you guys know, if you watch my grocery hauls or my cooking videos, that we are trying to slowly but surely move more and more in the direction of growing as much of our own food as feasible for us. So back to my tower garden. Guys, first off, almost every single hole is filled on my tower garden right now. I only have, I believe, 2 open holes, and that's just because I want to wait a couple more days for my seedlings that I'm growing on my mats, which I will show you in a second, to get a little bit bigger before I bring them over. Because the thing is, you really do want your seedlings to have a strong root system and for the plants to be at least 1 to 3 inches tall before you transplant them into the tower garden. Now granted, it still might work if you transplant the seedlings with weak roots or they're not very tall, because I didn't know that. And every crop, that's what we're gonna call it, every crop that I've done for my tower garden from the beginning has proved successful. I've gotten to eat from every single crop. It's just that it varies in the amount that I'm actually harvesting and the quality of the food. For example, I have this lettuce over here, and this is growing, and I keep debating daily whether to take this out and maybe put in one of my new seedlings I'm growing, because this is the perfect example of a plant that didn't have a very good start, and it's still going to work and it's still going to produce lettuce, but it's not as aesthetically pleasing, and it's not going to produce as well the way it is intended to produce because it didn't have a very good start. So that's kind of one of the things I wanted to show you guys in this video as well, is that I've recently upped my seedling starter game. And so now I have some grow lights and a heating mat for my seeds. And it's cool because what the heating mat does is it helps the seeds to germinate faster. And germinating seeds just means when the seed starts to grow a plant out of it, a little tail, and it starts to stick up. The heating mat helps to germinate the seeds faster, and having grow lights that are closer and more focused on the seedlings is helping my seedlings not become so leggy. So that was the biggest thing about all my seedlings in the past, is that they would often get very leggy. A lot of you commented on that, and that basically means that before the plant develops, it grows very long in the legs. And I guess that's not good because that makes the root system weak, which means the plant is not going to thrive as well. Like I said, even if you have leggy seedlings, it should still work. All of my plants have pretty much started off leggy, except for some of these new ones, because some of these new ones are coming from my new growing setup of like the heating mat, the lights, all of that. And before, just so you know, if you're like, well, what were you doing before? Before that, well, when I first got my tower garden, it was actually like summer last year, 2018, and I grew my seedlings outdoors and they thrived out there. I will say they were still leggy, so I'm probably still going to do my seedlings inside because these new ones are just like thriving. But that helped them grow pretty fast. And then when it became winter, because you can't grow seedlings in the freezing cold outside, I saw a friend of mine, her name is Little House on the Mountain here on YouTube, and she's the one that actually inspired me to get a tower garden. She was growing her seedlings just sitting on like the little deck right here of the tower garden, and that totally worked. It will grow your seedlings that way. But when I started looking into it more, I noticed that a lot of people use heat mats and special lights just for their seedlings. So I was like, you know what? I'm like going all into this, so I'm just gonna do it. So I invested in both of those items and I love them. And actually, I invested in bigger ones that I haven't unboxed yet because I just did like a big shopping spree on Amazon for different hobbies that I have around the house. And one of them is obviously gardening, and so I got bigger seedling trays and some more lights. So I'm excited to get those set up. But I want to circle back to my actual tower garden. I'm closing this door because Dan's doing the dishes. I'm not sure if you guys can hear that. So circling back to my actual tower garden, here's what I want to cover from the last video to this one, the great mold and bug fiasco. So when this happened, it happened like 3 days before my family was coming to town to visit. And I spent those 3 days leading up to their visit, like on my hands and knees, cutting and pruning, because that was something that I read, was that if something attacks your garden, you are really supposed to either like get rid of things or just like prune them nonstop to try to get down to the very base of what is pure and clean and not like attacked and dying. So I was pruning, and it was working. I'd say I noticed like a 98% drop in the tiny little bugs that I saw, which I didn't clarify that in this video. Basically what I saw was tiny little bugs. And I did a lot of research and I only found one website that listed seemingly what we had in the tower garden. A lot of the other sites were saying things that I was like, everybody was recommending it and I knew that wasn't what it was. It was very bizarre, but they were tiny little black bugs and then tiny little black dots that seemed almost like a mold or a mildew. And I noticed that I had cut it down drastically, but they were still coming back. I'd be like, yeah, I got rid of the bugs. And then I'd come back in a couple hours and I'd find like 2 more. And I was like, okay, 2 more means there's more. It doesn't matter that there's only 2, there's more. And so I was kind of freaked out and I thought, you know, I think I'm gonna have to deconstruct my whole tower garden and like, I don't even know, bleach it, completely start over, which I mean, side note, maybe we still have to do that. I don't know, this all turned into a giant experiment, but I'll tell, I don't think I have to because I'll fill you in on where this went. So then my family came to town to stay and my brother ended up sleeping in this room. Like we had an air mattress on the floor. And he gets really hot at night, and so he left the fan running all the time. And when they left, I think you can guess where this is going, the day after they left, after about a week and a half of being here, I came into my tower garden and I'm like, I haven't seen any bugs in a while. And I start examining and I'm like, there are no bugs in here. And then all of a sudden I'm like, wait a minute, the fan. And I Google it and sure enough, this is like 101 basic hydroponics that I just missed because I'm horrible at following directions sometimes. And I just didn't ever put that together. But even on the Tower Garden website, they say it is imperative to have airflow, a fan nearby when you are doing hydroponics because the area and the tower garden will quickly become like dank and swampy, and that will quickly attract and basically breed more bugs. So, and same thing with the mold and the mildew. So it's kind of crazy, guys, because since my brother came to town, my parents, my family, I have had no problems with bugs or mildew. We leave this fan running all the time, which has taken some getting used to because I've never been a ceiling fan person. And this is also like, this is my office. This is where I store products, and I keep cookbooks in here, and recording equipment, and my piano, and all of that, and I edit sometimes in here. So it's taken some getting used to, but now I'm used to it, and I would way rather have a thriving garden that doesn't have mildew and bugs, and I'd way rather keep my garden inside than outside. I've mentioned this before, that one day we have a goal of, if and when we ever move onto like a bigger property, we would like to build a greenhouse and have a bunch of tower gardens in the greenhouse, because I really like this concept of hydroponic gardening. It's easier on my back, it's clean, there's no bugs, I don't even wash the produce when I eat it. I love it, and we're actually working towards hopefully making it a little more sustainable one day too. So we have a water filter that's on the way, the kind of water filter that it's called Berkey, and it's the kind that you can pour the water in. So like if we lost all water and we had to collect rainwater, we have a way to filter that. And another one of our future goals is to buy a bunch of solar stuff, because when and if we eventually transfer our tower gardens into a greenhouse, we would like to have that all be plugged into a solar battery and be powered by the sun. Because I feel like I'm cheating with hydroponics, like it's not nature. So I've been trying to think like, how can we make this more sustainable, more green, and more independent if something were to happen? Like, how could we keep growing our food? I mentioned that to you before. That's something that my head has been thinking about a lot lately, and I'm not sure if it's because I'm going to be a mom, or you know, the recent Homeland Security announcement they made about every citizen needing to have at least 2 weeks worth of food and water on hand, because the power grid is like vulnerable. But I just feel like I'm starting to feel this responsibility of like, I need to learn how to take care of myself in like traditional ways with like food and blah, blah, blah. One of the other hobbies I'm about to pick up is sewing, I think. I bought a sewing machine. On a side note, it has nothing to do with my tower garden, I have also started to regrow my green onions. I didn't know that this was a thing. And literally, if you just, when you buy spring onions from the store, when you cut them, you can see where I made my cutting, and then you just stick the roots in water, this is what happens. It just completely regrows. So that's really cool. And a bunch of you guys told me that there are a lot of other foods that supposedly do that, like celery, which I don't even know. I haven't even looked into that. I'm like, I don't see roots on celery. And on a side note, I'm actually trying to germinate celery seeds right now to grow, because I read that you might be able to grow celery indoors on a tower garden. In closing, before I wrap up this diary, I have had multiple salads. Like, you guys are seeing my tower garden look a little more barren right now, a lot more barren actually than it did about a week ago, because I ate 3 of the heads of the lettuce, Dan and I did, and they were so good. So that was the other cool thing, was even though this was the same, like this is the same lettuce, and the ones that I ate were the same lettuce from the great mold and bug fiasco, you're able to cut and regrow lettuce like 3 to 5 times. And so after that whole fiasco, I cut away the next 2 growths, because I just felt weird. I was like, I feel like I need to have lettuce a little farther down the line away from the mold and the bugs. So I cut away the first 2 regrowths since that. And then I was like, this last regrowth, it's gonna be our last, but I'm gonna eat it. And so we ate it, and it was so good. It was so good. So I just wanted to tell you that the produce really is amazing. I feel like I could just keep blabbering and blabbering. It's so hard. I just want to keep talking. I guess I'll give you a couple other quick updates. Our lavender seems to be getting bigger and bigger, which is kind of crazy, because I didn't know that apparently the lavender is going to take like potentially another 8 or 9 months to even start to flower if it lives. So, but I'm committed. I'm in now, so we'll see. The other thing is, I wasn't sure. I have a couple jalapeno plants that are planted in here, and I'm not sure which one is going to stay because I couldn't ever get a straight answer on whether it is bad to have more than one jalapeno plant in a pod. So like some things can have multiple plants or stems coming up, and it's fine. And some plants you can't do that because the roots will actually choke out the other plant and it won't survive. So in one of these pods, or a couple of these pods, I have more than one like plant or stem in there, and then in one of them I just have like one stem. So we'll find out, you know, which it's gonna be because I couldn't quite figure that out. My kale is growing, although I am tempted to kind of like lob off the top of the kale because I feel like it's not growing the way it's supposed to. That's the thing, and I mentioned that earlier. So much stuff will just grow and grow, and it'll be edible, but it's not necessarily how it's supposed to grow. So like when I grew butterleaf lettuce a while ago, it was one of my first crops. It didn't grow into that traditional like, wow, butterleaf lettuce head. It grew like a vine. So it was still edible butterleaf lettuce, but it wasn't the way it was intended to grow. And I'm wondering if that's what's going on with this kale. So I'm tempted to like cut it off and then see what happens, because sometimes when you cut down plants, that is kind of like a redo. Then they'll like grow from there. But sometimes if you cut too low, you've killed it. So it's always like trying to find out that information online is not always super easy. And sometimes I'm really impatient. I'm just like, I'm just gonna try it and we'll see. So I have this really leggy, this is another example of like, it's not growing the way it's supposed to, but it's still growing. And it's bok choy. Now, bok choy can look very different on the tower garden than how it will look at a grocery store typically. I should have a picture on the screen now. So it's different, but I can't even believe this bok choy is still growing. Like there's baby leaves coming up from it. The root, the base is hanging on by a thread, but I'm just like, well, it's an experiment. I'll just let it keep going and see what happens. That's the thing. So much of this is an experiment for me, and I'm learning through every experiment. But because I now have my little seedling set up, I had grown some bok choy. I have more growing in a really good way. And so there's a bok choy plant up here that's growing in a much more stable looking way, and I'm so excited. So I also have a cherry tomato plant that is thriving. Like literally the base is so thick, the leaves are so green. Who knows if it's actually gonna produce cherry tomatoes? We're gonna see what happens. You're not like, people are really torn as to whether you can grow tomatoes inside. It's the cherry kind, which seems like it's going to be much more likely based on what I've researched online, but I still don't know if it's gonna work. Oh, I'm really sad because I have basil growing and I love basil. And you know, we grew basil a while ago on the tower garden and it was the best basil I've had in my life. But this new basil that's growing from a new pack of seeds that I bought, which said it was the same as my old pack, sweet basil. It's got like edges to it and it tastes like it's not the basil I like, unless it's just too immature right now. Like maybe when it grows up it will develop into the taste that I like, and maybe I'm smelling it too early. But when I'm smelling it, I'm like, oh no, I recognize that smell and I don't like it. So I recently, yesterday, 2 days ago, I just planted some seeds to germinate my old basil that I loved. So we're gonna let this continue to grow, see if it really is the kind of basil that I hate, or if it's just a baby right now and maybe giving off a different scent. And then I'll be transplanting the new basil in when that grows up probably as well. So I'm currently trying to grow purple cabbage. And you know, speaking of leggy plants, I transplanted some cabbage when it was really, really leggy down here just because everything's an experiment. But I'm starting to think that I'm gonna be taking that out and transplanting some better seedlings of cabbage, because I just am literally like, how is that gonna form into anything? I mean, I don't even know if cabbage indoors is gonna work, but that looks like it will not work. So we're gonna find out. But that's pretty much it from over here. And oh, no. I'm also growing Swiss chard. I'm super excited about that. It's definitely getting stronger by the day. It's growing little baby leaves every day. And it's really just exciting to watch. Honestly, I still can't believe that I've fallen in love with my hydroponic gardening so much. It is legitimately so peaceful and calming and soothing, and also very fulfilling. Like, I can't quite explain how good it feels for me when I get a plant like this, like full lettuce, and I cut it off and I take it downstairs and I make it into food. And to think that we're gonna be growing so many other foods as well, hopefully inside. And it's like this long-term project that I've had to learn and work at and do research, but then at the same time, like not really, because this is automated. Like it's this weird hybrid of like, it's not foolproof. You have to do research and know kind of what you're doing. Like I remember just germinating seeds being so overwhelmed in the beginning. So you have to kind of know what you're doing, but then at the same time, the Tower Garden does so much of the work for you, which is really awesome. On that note, I realized I don't think I've ever mentioned this in a video, and this was like completely ironic. I didn't know this when I bought the Tower Garden, like at all. But if any of you are ever interested in the Tower Garden, I have my own link because it is that type of situation where you can turn around and you can sell it to other people. And I just end up getting a commission off of that. So if you're ever interested and you want to use my link, I would be super appreciative of that. And it's just really, I don't know, that's really cool that I could share this with people and possibly get a commission because I'm so passionate about this now. And the cool thing is, we didn't do this yesterday when we purchased my new Tower Garden just because Dan didn't feel like doing it, but I probably would have been doing it if I had been checking out, which may not have been responsible, but it's really cool. Is Tower Garden actually offers payment plans with 0 interest. So sometimes it's hard for someone to drop, like basically this whole setup is around $1,000 for the lights and the pump and the kit and all of that. And you know, some people don't want to drop that much in one thing. And so they do a 12-month payment plan that's 0 interest and you can just, it comes out of your account every month. So that's kind of a cool thing too for people who are wanting to get started. But you know, you won't reap the results and it won't be worth it monetarily for a while. So sometimes dropping that much cash up front can be a little stressful because of that. You know, I've had mine for like 8 months now and it still hasn't been worth it monetarily yet. It's been worth it for like my passions and my knowledge and, you know, creativity and having a hobby. But in terms of like actually growing your own food and that being worth it, that takes a while to catch up because you have to learn the skills, you have to figure out what you're doing, what you want. I mean, even things like where things are being planted. My garden is kind of technically a mess right now. I have ideas for how I want to kind of place plants in the future, but all of that takes time to learn. And then on top of that, factoring in the fact that stuff has to grow. So not only do you have to learn what you're doing, but then the food has to actually grow, which takes time, even though the Tower Garden speeds up the growing process by like 3 times or something like that. Which, if you didn't know, this is actually technically not hydroponics. It's technically aeroponics because the roots are not sitting in water. They're dangling down the center of the tower, and then the water, there's like a mist and a drip that happens on the roots every 15 minutes, and then the lights are also on a timer. So they found through studies that the Tower Garden actually increases the rate at which plants grow because of the consistent use of light and water. Ooh, by the way guys, I'm gonna be doing a giveaway in this video because I have been buying an abundance of seeds and I feel like it's appropriate for this video. So I'm gonna be giving away this organic leafy green 7-pack of seeds, and it comes with kale and a lettuce mix, an arugula and spinach and Swiss chard and I think another kind of lettuce, all of the greens. So I'm gonna be giving these away to, yeah, one of you. So check the info box. I've actually been doing a lot of kind of like secret giveaways in the info box. They're not secrets, but it's not like a giveaway video. So check the info box and one of you will be winning these. I think that that's pretty much it for today's video. I feel like this was a really long one and hopefully not boring. I know I'm just like standing here in my office next to my Tower Garden. But yeah, I hope you guys liked this. And if you missed any of my other Tower Garden videos, like I said, I'll link them down below. And I will see you guys back here soon with another new video. All right, bye guys.